Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of After the Match, the show on the Football Suite channel where we analyse and discuss matches. The matches that we'll be discussing today are all of the matches between game week 24. Joining me for today, unfortunately, Richard couldn't attend due to internet reasons. Sort your internet out, mate. We have Head of Social Media, Andrew.
Hey guys.
How you doing, Andrew? What did you think of the football this weekend?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Interesting, I gotta say, there's some...
I see that good thanks wasn't really a good thanks, was it? It was more of a please don't mention that match, but...
I don't know which one you're talking about. I have no idea. Anyway.
Yeah.
There's some really good... top of the table was a massive hit as well this weekend.
Definitely, especially the matches both from yesterday and today. We're starting off with the... as much as... Maybe we could look at it as get it out of the way, but the Spurs-Arsenal match, a very important match for both North London clubs. Well, one was North London, one's Woolwich, is it not? But and Harry Kane, the striker, who seems to everything he hits goes in at the moment, had another storming day. What was your opinion on the match? Yeah,
like I said, I mean, you've nailed the nail with the hammer there. I mean, Tottenham were just superior. It was a derby where one team wanted it more than the other, which is a bit of a shock, especially in derbies of that type of ilk. Because, I mean, for a team to maybe not play as well as they should do is a bit upsetting. But, like I said, I mean, fair play to Tottenham. Much better team on the day.
And you don't normally hear that a lot, do you? It's like a lot of the time it's Arsenal were clear outrunners and the odd time Tottenham have won, but it seems like they really dominated Arsenal.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it's not... This is one of those derbies where I think a lot of no Arsenal fans really coming out saying it was a 50-50 match. A lot of them are quite down and saying that it was Tottenham as the better team.
And that's obviously got to hurt for a lot of Tottenham fans, a lot of Arsenal fans as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, because... Well, think about the people who probably went to that game. They were probably thinking about it this time last week after the Villa match, pumping themselves up for it and just really looking forward to a historic match and probably the biggest match in those fans' calendar. And then for the players to not really show the heart that they would if they were in the same position, it's always one of those though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of them matches that really, it's a real sort of... war before the match as well, war of the words and physical. There was reportedly trouble outside the stadium, as you do normally get on derby days. And I feel that Arsenal, this loss would have really hurt Arsenal. When Arsenal lose to Chelsea and stuff, Chelsea have got the sort of money to bring in world-class talents and stuff like that. Some Arsenal fans accept that. I don't think a lot of Arsenal fans are going to sit back and accept this. Tottenham have been in the shadow for Arsenal for so long and especially at a time where Wenger could have done with a win, it really doesn't help this result. It really and plus all the Arsenal players are back fit as well. There was some people saying, why didn't he play Walcott? What's your response to that?
Yeah, just on the Walcott thing, it's one of those, it's we refer to it in American football as a Monday morning quarterback. It's always should have put Walcott on early, but
it's easy to say that after,
isn't it? We've said it before. This is coming from a guy who's never managed a game in his life, and it's like, I would have done this, and it's like, have your opinion, man. That's completely fine. There's no problem in that. But it's just when you're slagging off this manager who's been there for so long.
Yeah.
And because what you would have done, and it's like,
Yeah, I mean? It's very temperamental, isn't it? Like one week support them, next jump on the back. But we saw the Mesut Ozil goal, it could have been controversially ruled offside, but, it was given. And at that point, I didn't personally see Tottenham getting back into it until Harry Kane did get the goal. I didn't see anything from Tottenham that was like, we're really dominating until Kane got that goal. And then Arsenal really did seem to be on the back foot.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's another one of those, like we said before, kind of like the passion took over then. In terms of Tottenham, so they said, right, this is it now. We've got all our fans who are chanting the whole game, and it's like, let's just go for it now. I think they saw that Arsenal's defence is reasonably weak once you've broken it once.
Yeah.
So they just kept exploiting it, and it finally went through.
although a good performance again from Francis Coquelin. He seems to really be taking that role on his own. Unfortunately, didn't get the result that they would have wanted, but you can't really take away that from him, can you? He seemed to have a really good match, and he seems to be finding his role in the midfield. Can you see him sort of holding that position down for a long time?
I think he will, yeah. I mean, look at his competition. I think Flamini is not up to I wouldn't say he's not up to Premier League scratch, but he's just lost that bit of pace, which kind of has him struggling in that position. It's the same with Arteta, although he's never really had the speed. It was always the ability, and that's kind of going a bit. So, I mean, yeah, like, he's been thrown into Man City away and Tottenham away. Like, one result wasn't the result he wanted, but yeah, I mean, the performances are there, and he's doing it against the big team. So, I don't see why not. He can't be the future guy.
And obviously, we all know that Arsenal fans will be hurt by this result, but you've got to look at that Spurs team. This is the Spurs team that put 5 past one of the best defences in the league of Chelsea.
Yeah, definitely.
And Harry Kane, if Harry Kane doesn't play, different match. So you've got to look at them points, as much as it's as hard to grasp it at the moment. But things could be getting positive for Arsenal with all the players back. But this could be a real big dent in their sort of challenge for Champions League, and obviously it's very open this year.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think in terms of Champions League, I mean, Arsenal have been in worse positions than this and still finished in the top 4. So I mean, we've been in this position in March, losing to Tottenham, and then obviously having to chase them, and that seemed all right in 2012. So we'll have to see. Yeah,
got to keep the confidence.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, the next match we'll discuss is one quite close to me. Aston Villa, Chelsea. Chelsea took the early lead with Eden Hazard, and Aston Villa clawed their first goal in, I believe it is, a good few hours of football, and made it look like they could have snatched another, but Chelsea managed to finish the game off with a great strike from Ivanovic, and it gives Chelsea a big gap in the league. What did you think of this result? It's a big point in the race for the title if Chelsea lose this.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. It was a great result for a start for Chelsea, and I think we also want to give a bit of a congratulations to Aston Villa for finally scoring, because I could imagine that was quite a achievement in the ground.
You could tell the fans were very, very happy with what they saw.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, oh God, I can't get over the 10-hour thing, but never mind, let's just leave that now.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it, really? But
in terms of Chelsea, I mean, it's another great away day result. It doesn't matter how many goals you score or how many goals they score, as long as you score more than them.
Yeah,
take the 3 points, and that's what wins titles.
Yeah, definitely. And also, it's such a difficult ground for Chelsea over the recent years. And me, for one, when Aston Villa did get the goal back, it wasn't a pretty time to sort of continue to watch. As a Chelsea fan, that it only takes one moment, and Courtois, as much as he's been brilliant this season, he did look a bit choppy at points in that match, and anything can happen in the Premier League, and I'm just very glad we finished it off. And also we got a chance to see the new by Juan Cuadrado, and he seemed to be quite good on the ball. Obviously he needs to get that full match and people need to see what he's about, but so far he looks good.
If he started, who would you have him replace?
That's a difficult one, because I wouldn't replace anyone at the moment. Yeah. But if I had to replace someone, it would most likely be Oscar, because I feel that the other Hazard and Willian, the other 2 players that are in the attacking midfield, they're unreplaceable at the moment. But that's the good thing with Chelsea. It seems like we have a lot of depth at the moment, and filled the places that needed to be filled. It didn't seem to work out well with Andre Schürrle or Mo Salah, so we just replaced them, and unfortunately for them, but at the moment Jose Mourinho needs to sort of win the league, and this is a big step towards it. Yeah,
definitely. Like we say, I mean, those are the results that win titles.
Exactly, and you have to be able to win ugly, as it were. But on to the next match. Leicester Crystal Palace. It was a strange match, wasn't it? I don't think any team looked particularly dominant, but it was. And obviously, as news comes in, this was the last match as a Leicester manager for Nigel Pearson.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, reports coming out from news sources saying that he's been sacked.
Wow.
It could have been for the incident on the touchline. Do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean, what was that about?
It was strange, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Especially you do not expect to see that from a manager, do you?
Except Alan Pardew.
Oh, well, you expect to see him in full-on brawls, don't you?
Have you ever noticed he was there as well? That's the thing.
Yeah, just tightening his nose like who would do that? But no, it was an important game, and obviously Crystal Palace seem to be winning the important matches at the moment. And Joe Ledley scored. What did you think of the goal?
Yeah, it was all right. You know, I think I'm starting to really worry about Leicester when I'm just watching them. I think somebody brought it up on Sky a couple of weeks ago, and they're kind of showing the goals they concede, and the defence just is not strong enough. They were saying it's just, you can really see it in the goals. They're just too slow to react to stuff, and then it's straight in the back of the net because they don't understand that's how the Premier League works, isn't it? You make a mistake, ball's in the back of the net. Yeah,
and obviously you saw the big the difference between them being the best team in the Championship and them suddenly becoming the worst team in the Premiership.
Yeah.
You know, do you think it may have been Nigel Pearson as the manager? Do you think he's maybe a Championship manager at best?
Well, it might have been the fact that, because the problem with finishing first in the Championship, I think, is you come into the Premier League
thinking that you're...
Yeah, exactly, thinking that you are probably 3 times better than the people in the Premier League, so therefore you'll be fine, because that's why it's a bit of a false position, really, coming first, because you do have a bit of an ego, and you have to have such a loyalty to your players as well, because you've just gone through a Championship season and actually won the thing, so obviously you're not going to really want to be replacing them in the first sight you can.
Yeah, definitely. And also we saw that you know, they didn't really particularly do well in the transfer market. You know, you'd think, okay, they brought in Esteban Cambiasso, but it's an old Esteban Cambiasso that is not far away from retiring. You know, is that the sort of player you want to bring in? You want to bring in someone of experience, but you want to bring in someone who could probably give you a good few years. You know, can Cambiasso really give you that?
I don't think they signed him for years, though. I think they did kind of just sign him as even a 1 or 2 season player. He doesn't. I don't think they'd have thought he would be a future one. But like you were saying, yeah, you kind of signed that Cambiasso player for a couple of seasons, but you also then sign somebody for a couple who will take those years and continue. So you get someone a bit younger who has got a bit of experience, and then obviously that'll help in the Premier League.
And when we saw. When we see Crystal Palace in the market, they've brought in Wilfried Zaha. It was a strange time for Zaha. You know, he was suddenly gone from being one of the best players in Crystal Palace to go to United, and then suddenly back. What do you think of that?
I think it's good that he's back at Palace. I'm very happy about that, but it's quite sad to see our young English talent obviously going up to a big team like United, and then it not working out, because you always, like I say, the England players hoping that they shine where they go and fulfil the potential. So it's always a bit upsetting when a young England player goes to these big clubs and it doesn't work out.
Do you think that could have been a thing of maybe Ferguson would have used him better but didn't get the chance to?
I think Ferguson does owe Zaha a big apology, because I'm sure he actually knew he was going to retire before he signed him, because I'm sure he said he knew he was going to try it on Christmas. And obviously he signed him in January, so I think it's a bit harsh of him to have signed somebody. Unless he did sign him for David Moyes, but then that's still not fair on anyone, because why was he signing players for somebody? Yeah,
definitely. We'll get on to the match after that, a very important match in the title race, which could have seen an even bigger gap. Manchester City, Hull took the lead from really poor defending from the City defence, and it was David Myler, if I'm correct, got the goal, and it looked like Hull could secure the 3 points until literally the last minute. City get a free kick, and James Milner exquisitely finishes it, and which could have been avoided as well, given the wall placement. But you know, it happens in football. But what did you think of this match? It was a really sort of poor performance from City, and we haven't seen them play very well at all this season at home.
City have missed Yaya Toure, I can tell you that. They can't wait for the final tonight and for him to just go back to City, because, I mean, that midfield...
It's very poor, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just
the passing was just very, very poor to watch. It was, but then saying that, we do, I wouldn't say you look at City as the best passing team, but certainly better than what we saw.
Yeah, I mean, fair play to Hull. I mean, going up to the Etihad and obviously just getting the draw when you should have actually won's a big thing. But like you were saying then, like what's going on at the Etihad? Because it used to be this fortress, untouchable. What's that now? Is that Hull have taken a point, Middlesbrough have taken a win, Stoke have taken a win, and Arsenal have taken a win.
Yeah, definitely. And also, it wasn't. It's not. It's okay. It's a weakened team with Yaya Toure out, but other than Yaya Toure, it's their first team. And
yeah, definitely.
And we've seen Aguero not getting a lot of service as well. But do you think Wilfred Boney, the signing of Wilfred Boney, would be any different?
No, it's like you're saying, it's a service, isn't it? Really, it's that creating from the back, and they don't really have that really because all these players coming back from injury, like Kompany, still looking a bit stiff with reactions and stuff like that. So I mean, if they had Boney at the top, they're still not. Because if Aguero's not getting that service and can't do anything with it, Boney definitely can't.
And I think it's fair to say that, you know, Wilfred Boney's not going to bench Sergio Aguero, is he?
No.
So, like, do you think Pellegrini would have the bottle, as it were, to bench him? Do you think he could say, Aguero, you're not doing it at the moment, we're playing Wilfred Boney? Because I currently find it hard to see where Boney would play, because I don't think they're the sort to play two up top.
The only way I think it'd work is if he kind of just says to Aguero, he's still coming back from injury, so you're going to be like my 70th minute substitute, and like he starts Boney when he comes back, possibly because Boney's probably still in form and he's not injured, so he could say to Aguero, just like relax for a little bit.
Yeah. Just
get back to injury, let's get you back match fit. In the meantime, I've got Wilfred Boney who can then take it, and then you can obviously, when you're getting back, we can start evaluating both of you to then pick which one's the best.
Interesting, yeah. Definitely, it could. It's definitely going to be an interesting few weeks when Boney comes back, because they really need to sort of get back into the title race. They've been slipping recently, and they could do with all the help they could get, which is wonderful for me, but wonderful to watch. But obviously, it's obviously going to be a big race to see who gets third and fourth as well. As an Arsenal fan, do you feel confident?
Yeah, for fourth, definitely, not for anything else.
Fair enough. Not the FA Cup?
Be interesting to see what the draw's like.
Fair enough, leave it at that. Right, the next match is QPR Southampton. Southampton still a late winner at QPR's ground, and another poor result for QPR, especially at home. They seem to be quite good at home, but struggling away. This time they didn't show much at home, did they?
Well, yeah, that's exactly what you're saying, isn't it? I mean, the whole QPR's whole thing this season is the fact that they may stay up because of the home form, because their away so poor. So when they start putting in performances at home like they did yesterday, that's when you really start to get worried, because that element of the winning is not going to be there anymore if they're not playing well at home. And I think it doesn't help when your manager goes for knee surgery and just quits on you. I don't think that's ever going to help.
No, definitely.
And I think QPR, sadly, without the man, unless they get somebody in quickly who's actually good and not Tim Sherwood, then I think they're in trouble.
You don't think Tim Sherwood could do a job, maybe?
QPR doesn't have QPR's dressing room will not have Tim Sherwood coming in and have to go at them all.
Fair point.
It's not like the Tottenham one where people can like be inspired by it. Think of like Rio Ferdinand with David Moyes last year. As soon as somebody else told him what to do, he didn't like it. Yeah,
definitely. But also, do you think it maybe could be the whole thing of, you know, if you want to stay in this league, you sort of got to follow this man, maybe?
But it's like you said, they're not really bothered, though, are they? Because if they get relegated, they'll just get another club.
Yeah, so it's a club. It seems to be a club full of mercenaries at the moment.
Yeah, well, it was when the previous time, wasn't it? When they were.
It seems like the last few years the signings haven't been particularly sort of great, and we've seen signings like Jordan Much, who only was there for a few months, wasn't he? And now he's at Crystal Palace, and there's. I don't know if the knee rumours with Harry Redknapp are true, but obviously if it does, I don't think he's the sort of manager to sort of walk out. But they're in trouble, that club, and it
is a bit of a coincidence, isn't it? The day after the transfer window shuts, there's no signings, and he has to retire. He has to leave the club.
Yes, it is true, but you never know, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the next match is Swansea Sunderland. an interesting match. Not a particularly great one. Keeson Young scored for Swansea, and Jermaine Defoe. I think it was his first goal back in England, if I'm right.
No, he scored the other week, didn't he?
Oh, fair enough. I'm corrected. And this is a Sunderland who are fighting relegation as well. You know, they're not far off the 18th place there.
Yeah, Sunderland are, I think, they admit at the moment, kind of a relegation battle team. But I mean, when you got Jermaine Defoe scoring goals, that's always going to help, isn't it? Because I think before the transfer window, before Defoe came, I think Sunderland lose that match because he's the guy who scores the goals and stuff.
I mean, everywhere Jermaine Defoe's been, you know, you're guaranteed goals. That's the good thing about Jermaine Defoe. But also with Swansea, you know, they're a team that have really been on form this season, and Gary Monk has to take a lot of credit for that.
Oh, massively. He's one of the best managers in the Premier League, considering this is like his first real managerial job, and he's just took it over and just carried on.
Yeah, he seems to have a good rapport with the players. The players seem to play for him, and the signings seem to have been good.
No, yeah, definitely. It's interesting to see how they'll be without Boney.
That was really one of the things I was just about to mention. Do you think they win this game if Boney plays?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's massive.
Obviously, of course, Boney wouldn't have played in that match anyway with the African Cup of Nations.
Yeah, but just for the sake of argument, yeah. So you say, like we're saying, if you take Defoe out of that Sunderland team, there's no point. And if you put Wilfred Boney into that Swansea team, they probably win.
Yeah, definitely. It was. There's not too much to talk about on that match actually.
No,
it wasn't a great match. So we'll skip to the next one, which has got even less to talk about. One of the worst derbies I can remember actually watching.
Oh God.
If you would have switched on that match and didn't know much about football, I don't think you would have known it was a derby. It didn't really have any great atmosphere. I mean, you could hear the fans from the Everton fans, but I didn't feel the derby atmosphere. I didn't feel them sort of derby tackles. I didn't feel that sort of anything that related to the sort of Merseyside derby. What did you think of this match?
Yeah, exactly. Dull. Roberto Martinez, dull. Just parking the bus at home against Liverpool and just not bothering and just... I don't know what's going on with Lukaku. At one point, I saw him literally stood on the left wing as if he was like Di Maria or something. Like, put the guy up front, he'll score goals. You know that. He did it last season.
Yeah.
Like, why are they doing that? Why are they putting him on the left? Yeah,
it was a frustrating match to watch, and especially for the neutral, because we was expecting a good match, and we got that. It was poor to watch. You know, we didn't really get anything from it. I don't know why they done that. They had some good attacking players playing. You know, Sterling didn't seem to do much, and it was terrible to watch, wasn't it? And there was only one point of the match where I thought, it's shaping up to be a derby, is when Henderson came together with one of the players, but it was so dull I can't even remember who that was.
No, me neither. But Gerrard's scissor kick would have been good had it gone in, though. That was pretty decent. And all.
Yeah, obviously Gerrard's last ever Merseyside derby, unless he sort of comes back on loan.
City.
But you never know if he comes back on loan when, you know, LA Galaxy have their sort of off season. Yeah. But nothing to talk about that match. Let's move on.
All these matches, though, have you noticed, is all starting to become the Steven Gerrard show. Have you noticed he's trying to score the winner in every single match, like, ridiculously?
Yeah, but to be fair, he was like that beforehand, wasn't he?
Yeah, fair enough.
But the next match we'll get to, the start of the Super Sunday, as it were. Burnley, West Brom. Burnley took the lead, and West Brom equalised, and it seemed to be a really good match, actually. As much as the Super Sunday as a whole wasn't particularly great, you know, that was one of the sort of standout matches between two teams that aren't really on form and are battling relegation.
Yeah, definitely. It was one of the better games, wasn't it? Didn't Burnley go 2-0 up, and then Doran scored in half-time injury time to make it 2-1?
And then Brownie Day scored the equaliser.
Ah, right, yeah. That makes sense. Sorry about that. Right,
No, go ahead.
Yeah, but I was very impressed. Like, it was a typical Premier League game, you know, like for advertising, because it was two teams near the bottom actually playing a good game and actually having a bit of quality to it. Like, that is what, in my opinion, the kind of Premier League foundations are. Those like lower of the table teams playing each other, because they're always exciting because we're starting to come to the big business end of the season. So I thought it was a really good game.
Yeah, I thought it had some good moments in. I thought that West Brom have really surprised me because I wasn't expecting them to be as poor as they were this season. We've seen them over the last couple of years, and when Steve Clark was managing them, they seemed to be doing really well when Lukaku was there, and it seems like they've really dipped in form recently. And I feel like I posted it on Twitter earlier. I don't know if you saw. I thought a very big mistake was making Darren Fletcher the captain on his first match. You really don't do that. I don't know whether that was one of the sort of things that they promised him when he came in, but that's a big no-no for me. But Burnley, it's going to be very tough for them to stay up. We've heard reportedly that they don't have a lot of money to sign people. Even when it was in the Championship, they had to get rid of Charlie Austin and players like that. They've got Ings. It's reported that Ings will apparently leave Burnley at the end of the season when his contract's up. It's going to be tough for them, and they need to sort of get these results where they're at least getting something out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Burnley may be all right just because they've got that team ethic that can win you matches. Obviously, they didn't win yesterday, but you've seen it before where they've kind of rallied and thought, like, we can win this. And the manager just believe in the team. Like, I don't think it's kind of a Leicester thing where you're starting to see, like, a lot of cracks. I think with Burnley, like, there's stuff there that you'd expect to be there, but they can win games and they could probably stay up.
Yeah, and obviously the benefit they've got if the teams around them, the sort of Sunderland, West Brom, Villa, Hull, QPR, they've really got a big group of teams around them. A couple, say if Burnley suddenly hit good form and the other teams don't, they could outrun a few teams. That could really benefit them. But then also if Burnley don't hit form, it's going to be a problem for them. And obviously getting out of that and being in that relegation battle is a very tough, and we've seen it before. We've seen some good teams go down and really hit rock bottom, like for instance Portsmouth and even Southampton at points. But it's going to be an interesting end to the season for them, definitely. And West Brom, you don't know if West Brom are going to be fighting that relegation battle, if they suddenly hit form or don't. But I guess we'll see that nearer towards the end of the season. The next match of Super Sunday was Newcastle-Stoke. A 1-1 draw. Newcastle took the lead with Jack Colback scoring in the second half, and nearer to the end of the match, Peter Crouch, goal scorer, got the equaliser. And Newcastle fans have been talking throughout this season that they really wanted Pardew gone, and they suddenly got their wish recently. But what do you think of this? Do you think they might have been a bit too hasty to get rid of him, or?
Well, I think, like I said, I've always said on this show, I think they were a bit too harsh on him because he did do a good job. Like, fair enough, he's not the person they wanted and stuff like that. That's completely fine, and they've got the right to protest. But he left Newcastle kind of saying, like, I did my best, and nobody was like saying, you who wasn't a Newcastle fan, no one was kind of saying you were an awful manager or anything. So I think it was best for everybody that he did leave, because now everybody's kind of got what they wanted. But when you look at Newcastle, it's starting to look like they kind of regret it a little bit because performances just aren't there.
I think also a lot of the Newcastle fans were thinking, get Alan Pardew out, get a big manager in.
Oh, yeah.
They've got John Carver, who was his assistant. That's not... I don't personally feel that's a big improvement.
But no, I mean, he has all the ideas that Alan Pardew had, didn't he? He's just kind of left them with him, isn't it, really?
Yeah, exactly. And also, Newcastle have this whole thing with the Rangers thing now,
Yeah.
I know Newcastle fans also want to get rid of Mike Ashley, but at the moment, who's out there that wants to particularly buy Newcastle?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, Newcastle fans are great fans. They're one of the best in the country, but they seem to be thinking that Saudi businessmen are jumping over each other trying to buy them, kind of thing. And like Pep Guardiola is always looking over to make sure that space is available for him to manage there one day. Like, sometimes it is really over the top kind of expectations, which you should really try and remember what kind of club you are modern day, and then try and get your needs to that standard.
And also, I mean, we look we look at Newcastle's history-wise, they're not the sort of big European powerhouse, are they? And it seems like a lot of their fans. I'm not saying at all that Newcastle are a tiny club or anything, but it seems like they've got fantastic support. We know that, but it seems like they're expecting them to be a sort of Manchester United that can sort of say that, oh yeah, we've won this, we won that, we want to continue winning things. And they haven't particularly done that in the past. As much as they've come close, they haven't actually been that team. And to expect to suddenly become that team in a time where it's the most difficult in the Premier League, a few years ago when they were close with United, it was a two-horse race. Now we've got Chelsea, we've got City, we've got United, we've got Spurs, we've got Arsenal. Last season we had Liverpool. It's particularly the hardest time. And obviously we've seen Everton this season. Everton have completely dropped. United don't seem to be playing well. And, it's a time for maybe a bit more sort of trust in a manager, do you think? Or because I don't think sacking anyone, because who's gonna come in for Newcastle? What manager did they expect to come in?
Well, that's what I mean. It's a horrible time to sack a manager or a manager to leave. I'm sure QPR are going to find that out, because managers are kind of thinking about their own reputations, thinking, how long do I actually have, especially with Newcastle? Do I pick the team and stuff like that? So, I mean...
And also, a lot of managers are probably thinking, like, taking over QPR, maybe... like Tim Sherwood, you said he probably don't think that, but he might be thinking, do I want to manage in the Championship next season?
Or is he thinking, will I get a chance to manage in the Championship next season?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Will he stay? Like, a lot of these, a lot of the owners seem to be quite trigger happy as well. Like we've seen that with Chelsea, but nevertheless, I'm sure we'll see what happens later.
Crouch's goal was good in the game, by the way. That was a really good header.
Yeah, I mean he'll give you that, Crouch, but obviously you could tell where they really miss Bojan. But unfortunately, he's going to be out for a very long time.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah, exactly. And that was a nasty injury.
Definitely.
We'll get on to the last match of today's episode, and it is West Ham United versus Manchester United at Upton Park. It was a really good performance from West Ham, but they didn't have enough to sort of kill the game off when it needs to be. And as United have done for seasons, they get that sort of injury time goal. And what did you think of it?
The performance or the goal?
Both.
Man United's performance, I mean, I'm not, Man United have got, they are a great club and stuff like that, but I mean, the performances this season, I mean, we've talked off air sometimes about Van Gaal. Is he all that really Premier League wise? Because, I mean, honestly, I think if David Moyes was doing these performances, I think he's getting a lot more stick than I think Van Gaal is. And I think it's a tough one, because they've spent so much, though, when you actually think about how much money they've spent.
100%, yeah.
And then they're playing like this, and it's like, and he was saying, judge me after 3 months, and it's like Man United need to start playing better. They can't be scrapping draws away at West Ham, even though West Ham are really doing well. They were good, they're really good, and they played good all season, and they were good today. But still, Man United should be winning these matches quite comfortably.
Yeah, and also like he said, judge me after a few months, but these months have gone past, and I don't think United fans are seeing any improvement. And the signings that he has brought in, they don't seem to be fitting in well. I think Luke Shaw is still of that young age that he needs some actual experience more than sort of thrown into the first place. Yeah. We saw that with Southampton last season. Maybe Bertrand would have been a better option for United the way that he's been playing this season. But I think Luke Shaw was a sort of future buy as well. I don't think Van Gaal's tactics are very good with the Premier League. A lot of teams have figured him out, and a lot of the time playing Rooney in midfield, it just doesn't seem to work. He seems to be very wasted there. And you've seen players like Blind. Okay, Blind did score the goal today, but I didn't see much of him other than that. Kyoto, the goal that he did score, it seemed like every player was trying to get the ball off him, but no players could actually stand in front of the ball and stop him from scoring. I thought De Gea had an absolutely brilliant match, and I felt quite sorry for him, because with De Gea and a world-class back four, I think he's given the recognition he probably deserves. But United did get the point in the end, which is probably... I don't particularly think United deserved anything from that match.
But it's good show of character by Man United if they've obviously don't deserve anything from a match and they're still taking things from a game just to get that 1 point. I mean, that's going to be valuable in this race for the top four. Exactly,
and also sometimes you've got to learn to sort of try and win ugly. As much as they didn't win today, they got the draw that was needed. They get that 1 point and they're still sort of in the position to challenge.
Definitely.
It was... What would you say was your match of the weekend then?
In terms of result in the Premier League, I'd probably say Southampton QPR.
Okay.
Because it's pushed Southampton further and it's also kept QPR down.
I could say my match of the day, as much as you probably wouldn't like it, is the Spurs-Arsenal match.
No, that's fair enough. No problem.
I thought it was a really good game to watch as a neutral.
Yeah.
I don't particularly like either clubs, so it wasn't much of a big deal to me who won. But Spurs seem to be playing really well at the moment with Kane. I don't know how they're going to cope too much when Kane isn't playing, though. That's one of the things I did consider, because Kane was in them positions where nobody else was. Yeah. Kane was jumping to win that header against Koscielny. I don't see any other player doing that. One thing I will say about Spurs, I don't understand how they paid that much money for Eric Lamela.
Yes.
Because he is awful. And also, if Alexis Sanchez was playing, do you think that would be a different result?
Yeah, definitely.
I thought Welbeck played particularly well.
Welbeck was my Arsenal man of the match, definitely. He showed how good he can be. Just as a team player, he just runs about and everything, puts pressure on and tries to create goals, which he did.
Yeah. Also, Mesut Ozil, he did score the goal, but I didn't think he played particularly well. You know, he was out of position quite a lot, but I also think that was because Wenger seemed to play him on the wing, didn't he? And he's not really a winger, is he?
Well, yeah, that's the problem when you have Cazorla and Ozil in the same team. I think you've just got to rotate at times, and unfortunately, sometimes if you rotate at the wrong time, they can get on the counter, and Ozil's pretty much out of the game if Kyle Walker's past him.
Yeah. And obviously he's not the greatest of right-backs as well. Like, put him up against a sort of decent winger like Sanchez. I think Walker has a lot of problems.
Definitely.
But, we'll call that the end of the show, guys. If you enjoyed the episode, please comment. If you liked the video, connect with our Twitter. Andrew runs that. You know, we could ask questions, get involved in our debates. If you want to be a part of the show, please let us know, and thank you.
Thanks for listening, guys.